Teams that we think are going to be great headed into it. Teams that might think be overrated. So let's start with your teams that you think are going to be pretty solid. That you're looking forward to watch this upcoming year.
Yeah, so I think based off of what the preseason rankings are and where these teams, are based right now, I kind of viewed it as, do I think they're going to finish above where they are? So one of the teams I really like is NC State.
Hmm.
I really like them. New coach Will Wade. Every year, whether he's been at every year at LSU, he overperformed his preseason expectations on Ken Palm, which is a pretty popular predictive metric that a lot of college basketball teams use. They brought in a ton of talent. Matthew Abel is actually someone who I think could be an NBA
No,
prospect
it's
after
funny
by
that you said the NC State. I literally wrote they're like one of my teams too. I'm super high on them. I have Matthew Able down 6'6" guard, but he's different.
yeah, and Will Wade's always been known to get high level talent and one of the, bigger name recruits in the transfer portal he reportedly got from Kansas was literally, I think, about to sign Darren Williams, and he got Darren Williams
Oh,
there. So
really?
that's yeah,
I
so that's a huge get for him.
I know that.
They have a lot of great guys they brought from McNeese State.
Hmm.
Um, then Alan Lubin from UNC. Late in the year last year, he was really solid for UNC.
He's been
So I'm
doing great
interested.
so far this
Yeah,
like preseason.
obviously Trey Hollerman,
Yep.
Michigan State point guard, but yeah, he always seems to overperform expectations. And I think in an ACC where, yes, I think the top teams have improved from last year, Will Wade's just going to play that athletic, up and down basketball that I really think for that league is going to be tough to deal with. So I think they're right now, if I looked on both the coaches and AP poll, they're not in the top 25, but
No, I think they're
I
right
have
on the
no
better
doubts
side.
that they'll be in the top 25
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah. I don't know. Will Wade, like you said, he just like knows a way to have his players buy in. Like I've seen so many videos on like social media and
Right.
it just looks like it's a fun but like super intense atmosphere of like their practices. I saw this video where like they're literally practicing like it's a game where they're taking time out, sitting down, doing halftime breaks, and he really like gets the buy-in from all of his players.
And just from a player's perspective, maybe you could speak on this. What is it like playing for a coach based off what you've heard and seen from Will Wade? Because there's one, side of things where it's like it's easy to play for a guy like that that's so emotional and so invested in you. But on the other side of things, there's probably times where he's probably in your face and he's probably like, pretty emotional. And most of those NCAA tournament games, you could tell he's not sitting there with his hands, sitting on his hands, right? He's a guy that's, pretty emotional. So just from a player's perspective,
Yeah.
what's that like?
I think when you see I think I saw this later on with Coach Gilbride, especially when I was out my senior year. I saw it from like that aspect of it. When you see your coach, how much he wants to win, how much he like loves to win, how much he loves the team, I think that just pushes you to that next level. It's like, yeah, you obviously want to win, but now you're not playing for yourself, you're not playing for your team. It's like you're playing for your coach now. It's like this is this guy that's going to lead us. We got to go win it for him. It's not about you anymore. And I think that's, at least from what I've seen so far with Will Wade and just the teams that he's had, it's like he gets the buy-in from every single person. And I think that starts kind of, it's probably starts, I don't know too much, but it probably starts off the court with him. Like he's probably talking to his players, seeing how they're doing. And I think getting that buy-in from off the court, it makes it so much easier on the court. And yeah, I mean, I had them down as one of my teams that I like heading into the season. They also have Terrence Arsenault transfer.
Yeah,
He was really
Houston.
highly touted coming out of high school. Um, he did okay at Houston. I don't think he got to his expectations, but I think he'll be a great transfer coming from them as well. So
I think it also speaks to, right, Terrence Arsenault is probably someone high recruit at Houston, right? They've had great teams the past few years. He probably could have easily left the past
yeah,
2 years, but he
yeah,
chose to stay. And I think that says something about someone's character,
for
right?
sure.
A lot of these guys in the transfer portal are talented, but it's a lot easier to ruin a team or mess up a team's chemistry with a bad attitude. Doesn't matter how talented you are. And I think a lot of the guys Will Wade brought in are from not only winning programs, whether it's Williams, Arsenault, Hollerman, they're high character guys. So I think to your point, I think that he's someone who's definitely a physical, athletic defender that, again, in the ACC, it's going to be tough for teams to match that.
Yeah, I like their makeup. I like their makeup as a team. I think like I had that Matt Abel kid written down. I watched him in some like summer runs this year. I didn't realize he was like 6'6". At least they have him listed as 6'6".
Yeah,
And he
he's,
looks
yeah,
like he's a point guard.
yeah.
I don't think he did that great in one of their scrimmages, but I feel like if he can get to that level of what we're probably expecting him to get to, I think they're going to be a team that's like going to be pretty scary come March and obviously in the
Absolutely.
ACC. Another team I had written down, they just played against Duke. They didn't beat them, but I had Tennessee written down. Um, I think they have good makeup as a team as well. They have point guard Jacoby Gillespie, proven point guard, super dynamic and get a shot off. I think he's a great leader coming in for Zakai Ziegler. Obviously, they lost him to lead that team, but I think Nate Ament can be one of the best freshmen in the country in terms of like his usage rate. Like I think he's gonna be a guy that's gonna get all of his shots up, like at least 15, 20 shots a game. So if he can play that level, Gillespie can play at his level, and then they have a really good supporting group. Super physical team. They play defense really hard. I think they're going to be a team that a lot of teams in SEC, just in general, in March are going to be pretty scared to play for.
From a, I watched a little bit last night as well, and obviously Nate Ament, you hear a lot of draft buzz around him. What from a, obviously with your training background and just skill development background, what do you see in his game that really makes him unique? Obviously
Mhm.
the size and the ability to shoot, but was there anything last night that you saw versus a Duke team, right, who's has length across the board and defensively is probably going to be one of the top teams in the country? What did you kind of see in that game that made you think, he's definitely could be have a great year like it seems like you think he could.
Yeah. I think, at least from what I saw yesterday in that one game, was like his mid range in between game was like pretty solid. He was really trying to get to that mid range area, whether it was in the mid post, getting to the little turnaround, getting to the two dribble pull up. I think he kept it really simple. He wasn't really doing too many combo moves, try to get to a step back three. Like he knew what kind of spots he wanted to get to. Last night didn't fall, but I think his usage rates being so high and him getting a lot of shots up, and I think he's gonna take shots that are gonna be good shots for him. Um, that's why I like him a lot. I think like his size, he's like 6'10", pretty lanky. He's obviously had to put some weight on,
Right.
obviously going to the league and stuff like that. But his game just looked pretty mature in terms of scoring as like an 18, 19-year-old
Yeah.
freshman.
And the past 2 years at Tennessee, obviously Dalton Connect and Chaz Lanier, right?
Yeah.
They've had those kind of alpha scorers that have done really well. So I'm excited to see someone who has just as much talent, if not more, than those guys. How he
Yeah.
does.
And I think the obviously difference with them is those guys were like grad students, older guys, and he's gonna have his freshman moments where he's
Absolutely.
going 3 for 16, turn the ball over. But I mean, hopefully if he could be at that level where we think he could by the end of like February, early March, I think they're gonna be a really really tough team to go against.
Absolutely.
Who you got next? Who you got next for me?
So this team for the past 2 or 3 years, I kind of think has went under the radar for how well they've done. I know they've had one tournament they went out early, but I really like Arizona. They're a team where they always offensive rebound this year really well. And again, how the game's going, right? A lot of teams are taking 3-point shots, but again, especially in college, right? It's not going to be 40% every game. So you got to bring something that's going to be reliable, game in, game out. And their front court is just, they're studs. They
Yeah.
have two guys coming, yeah.
Who
Um,
else they have? Not
they
really.
have Krivas, the European center. He's,
Hmm.
again, a really solid player. And then I think what this year separates them from past years, I legitimately think they have two possible NBA prospects in Burries and
Yeah.
Koa Pete.
Hmm.
I watched a little bit of their scrimmage against St. Mary's, obviously a team who's, very physical on defense and it's hard to
Hmm.
score against. You could tell those guys athletically, so far their games, like those guys could definitely play in the NBA at some point. And I think to having a deep March run and get to a Final Four, you kind of have to have some games where the talent just shows.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
those two guys are really, solid prospects in my opinion. And then they do have two guys who are returning in their backcourt, Jaden Bradley and Delaroso, I think his last name is, the shooter. And, last year, obviously, Caleb Love was very ball dominant and whatnot, and that won him a lot of games. But I also think at times it was definitely taking away from what they're trying to do and push the pace, get the ball inside. And I just think they have a lot of talent, 7 through 8 on that team. And Tommy Lloyd's always an excellent coach. Um, one of the kind of moments in the years past that stood out to me from him is when, unfortunately, he beat your Blue Devils on the road.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not an easy place to win, and him going in there and winning that game, and they always play great teams in the non-conference, so that shows me they're a team that they think highly of themselves and whatnot. They're not afraid of going into this year. They're going to UConn, so definitely a team I'm on the lookout for.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch them play. I think Kobe Pete and Brandon Burries. I've seen a little bit of them in high school. Obviously, Brandon Burries being from Cali, I think, and then Kobe
Yep.
Pete. He's kind of similar to like a Paolo Cam Boozer type of player. Where he's like 6'10", pretty strong, plays in the in between area. And then Jaden Bradley. I'm super excited to see what he can do coming from Bama, where he was once a really high recruit, but he kind of stuck it through it all 4 years now, and I think
He
being at
fit
this experience wise, he's going to be pretty huge for them.
he fits that, on defensively, he could really pressure the ball. And he's also, Arizona's a team that they do want to push the pace, get the ball inside early in transition. He's someone who really does that to a T, right? Coming
Right.
from Alabama, it's almost second nature.
Yeah, yeah. So no, that's definitely a team, a West Coast team that we're gonna have to probably stay up watching late in the game.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like, a lot of these teams are probably going to be East Coast teams, but you got to
Yeah,
show love. So,
yeah, 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 yeah. So my last team that I have, and this is a team I was kind of on the fence on because sometimes just recently with how they kind of done and their coach how he's done has been up and down. But I think Arkansas could be a sleeper team this year. I think they have two really good freshmen, Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff. I think Darius Acuff is he's nasty to me. Like he can really run the show. And they have some guys coming back. They have Wagner, I think, he was number one player out of high school for like his whole career. Like so
right.
the talent is there. Obviously hasn't worked out probably what people thought it was for him in terms of going to the league after his first year. But he's an older player now. I think he's gonna get much better. I really like Carter Knox um, coming to his sophomore year. I think he could be um, a really good option for them on that wing. Like he's 6'6", like 60. I don't know how tall he is, but he's strong. He shot the ball really well last year, which I didn't know about, and he's coming to his sophomore year. So, and there's some pieces around that I could really work with. So they're a team that you know could be
Yeah.
up and down, but I think having Coach Cal and just that dynamic duo of the freshman duo, I think they could be really solid this upcoming year.
So yeah, so I know years past when we've talked about Arkansas, especially last year, I wasn't a huge Coach Cal. Arkansas, was my
Hmm.
favorite team, but this year I think, and especially last year, you saw in the tournament, right? Wagner, Knox, Billy Richmond, Brazil, those guys played phenomenal,
Yeah, yeah,
and they're coming back. Darius Acuff is a phenomenal player. Malik Thomas is again very he can get hot, and he's someone who he's going to win them a few games just on how he can get hot quick. And you and the transfer from Florida State should give him some depth up front. But yeah, I think again when you talk about Wagner, Acuff, Richmond, Knox, and Brazil, those are five guys on the court who are going to be able to guard. They're all athletic. They're all going to be able to. So I think in the SEC, and again, in tournament play, going against a team like that, it's a shock to most teams. I think that
yeah,
kind of gets, it's not, it's not like you're going against whatever, teams in your league if you're not in the SEC.
yeah.
So I agree. They were actually one of my teams as well, but I could go to a
Really?
backup. Yeah. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have two, I guess.
yeah. It's
Two,
crazy.
that's pretty crazy. Great minds think alike, right?
Yeah,
But,
yeah, exactly. That's
um,
crazy.
yeah, I could go to, it's anything else to add on that or?
No, I mean, were the I so I picked out three teams. Were you have any other teams, or those
Yes,
are
I have a backup one. So I've
okay? Yeah,
said this
what's
to
the
you
backup?
before already, and I've said this to many friends. I really think San Diego State this year
Mm,
is going to be very solid. They bring a lot back. They get last year uh, a player who was a key player in the previous year's team, a transfer from USC, Reese Waters.
okay.
He was out the whole year. Again, that's someone who's going to be a start in their backcourt. They have the preseason player of the year in their conference, Miles Bird, and then their center, who was reportedly going to go to Kentucky and a possible NBA prospect. He's coming back. Their team, they're very physical. They have one, even the year they went to the Final Four, I don't really think they had as much talent as they did this year. And their team every year, even last year was kind of a down year, right? They beat Houston, right? During the year, and then things didn't go their way. But if they can get a little bit more easier scoring this year, their team, I think, Again, not in the top 25, but they definitely can be, and they could definitely get to the second weekend in March.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of buzz around their team this year, so I definitely do a little more information on myself. But it's kind of crazy to see how like San Diego's kind of done these past, few years where they've kind of been one of the best mid-major schools like across the whole
Yeah.
country. And no, I mean, speaking to what you just said just now, it sounds like they have some players that could play at that high level. So
Yeah, the I would say Miles Bird and their center definitely are going to be NBA prospects, and we'll see how the year goes. Maybe they could slide into the first, or if they don't do as well, maybe they're going to be second round and whatnot. But especially in the Mountain West and mid major, if you have two potential NBA players, that's massive, right? Most
yes,
Power Five schools are not having two NBA players, and whatnot. Obviously, in the top 25 there'll be teams with that. But most Power Five schools, again, that's not an easy thing to do,
yeah,
especially at San Diego State.
yes,
So
yeah. No, they're gonna be a team that can be on my list of teams to watch.